All right. So welcome to the Albert's List webinar. Today is May 24th. And today we're talking about how to maximize career counseling with Stella, Yuen. And so my name is Albert Chen. I'm the founder of Albert's List. We are an online job seeker marketplace serving over 15,000 people within our Facebook group, accessible from albertslist.org. With me, I have Stella Yuen. Stella is a career coach and founder of Find Your Peanut Butter. And so I want to kind of lump this today into career counseling and mentorship and employee retention, because all these things are very, very important today. And I just wanted to start off this webinar by outlining stats. So first stat is, according to the Society of Human Resources Management, from an article in 2011, they surveyed 880 high potential employees, with more than 25% saying that they plan to change jobs within the next 12 months. And that potential attrition rate is 2.5 times greater than just 5 years earlier. Among those dissatisfied, 64% said that their current employment experiences are having little impact on their development. In an article from the Wall Street Journal from some time ago, in an effort to school senior executives in technology, social media, latest workplace trends, many businesses are now pairing upper management with their employees in practice known as reverse mentoring. The trend is taking off at a range of companies from tech to advertising. And we also know that, furthermore, having mentors is really important. 80% of CEOs of Fortune 500s these days stated that they have mentors. And for access to mentors, it's given them insider knowledge and access to power. Mentoring has assisted them in having careers that are fast-tracked and forward-moving, which they claim that they would have much harder or impossible otherwise. And finally, oh, really? I have a lot of echo? All right. Well, I'm just trying to work through it as much as I can. Let me know if it gets any worse. Data from an emerging workforce study showed that 35% of employees who don't receive regular mentoring plan to look for another job within roughly 12 months or so. And in between that is career counseling. We all know that there's the availability of career coaches and also career centers in various institutions of higher learning. I've reached at some points where actually hearing that some universities don't have this in the first place. And so students are sometimes told to get out into the real world without really having that much experience. So with all of those things, I think, set out there and set out and about, welcome to this webinar, Stella. Thank you for coming back. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. All right. I'm just looking at you over there. So let's start with career counseling, then we'll move into mentorship, employee retention, and employee engagement. So as a career counselor, how would you define what it is that you do from that perspective?
Sure. So a career counselor, I always explain, I can hear now. So I always explain that a career counselor is someone who's there to help guide you and essentially mentor you through the whole job search process. But keep in mind that they are no means helping you get the job. So it's really a lot of coaching and mentoring, but a lot of it's half-half. Half of it's them to help you through it. The other half, you have to be proactive in doing your own search. So the goal is to try to get you a job, but the coach is not going to do it for you.
Okay. And so when it comes to a career counselor, what is the difference between good career counselors and not so good ones?
Great question. So I would say a good career counselor, especially from my experience, is going to be someone who really encourages you and really helps you along in the different stages and takes patience in what you do. For some people, it might take longer for them to find a job, and that's totally okay. It's really on your own terms. Whereas, those are going to be the more supportive type of coaches where they ask you questions. Whereas I think the other type of coaches, the bad coaches, are going to be those ones who are really impatient with you, really forceful, really encourage you, not not encourages you, tells you to do things that they think is right for you instead of encouraging you to pursue your own path. So for example, let's say, and no offense to those who are, but let's say you have a humanities degree and they're like, you know, you shouldn't do a humanities degree because it won't help you find a job. You should do accounting or engineering instead. Whereas a good career coach will help you, help you identify steps to pursue that path into what you actually want.
Okay, and so what's the difference between a career counselor and a career coach? Is it the same thing, or is there a lot more to it than maybe people imagine?
I would say they're essentially the same thing. The career counselor is more for those who are in the school system. So if you're like still studying in school, you'll see more of the career counselors, and they're going to be the ones really helping you either determine your major or determining what to do with your major, versus a career coach is really when you graduate and you're already out there in like the real world, and they're more coaching you on how to find a job, not on the process of like, what do I do with my life? Mm-hmm. Well, that could be a little bit of it, but that's really where your career counselor comes in. So ideally, you would do that step before you try to search for a job, because you can't really search for a job if you don't know what to do.
So what's the difference then between, what kind of career coaches are there that are available to people who might be looking for them?
So it can really range. It could be someone who takes you through like the beginning to end process of like, this is how you like network. This is how you look at job postings. This is how you do this, versus doing something more specific. Like, this is how I would do this is like a resume review. This is how we do mock interviews. So it can really range. It just depends on what you're looking for. But honestly, some career coaches can literally take you through the whole process from the beginning of your job search to the end.
Okay, great. So when it comes to career coaches, career mentors, things like that, and maybe even career centers, how does one maybe look at which one to use? Career counselor, career center, and maybe even like a mentor coach. And
so I would say, if you're still in school, definitely take advantage of the career center. So the career center has a lot of different resources. Not only do they have career counselors, but they'll have information sessions with different employers. So this is where you really find your internships and jobs. They'll host career fairs. They'll have mock interviews. They'll have career counselors to help you identify what it is you're passionate about and how to pursue it. They'll have different documents on how to find a job. They'll provide networking events. So this is definitely like your hub for when you're in school. So I would definitely take advantage of it. On the other hand, when you graduate, you may not necessarily have those services anymore. I know some schools give you like 6 months or 3 years of an alumni to use it, but after that, you kind of have to pay for it if you're even allowed to. So I know at my alma mater, San Diego State, you can pay to have job search services or to have your resume reviewed, but that's completely free to you as a student. On the other hand, you can really look for a career coach where they can really mentor you and work with you one-on-one to get through your research process versus a career counselor. Just to keep in mind, a career center is one career center for, let's say, San Diego State, or I don't want to which has about 40,000 students. So imagine 8 counselors for 40,000 students. So if you think about it, it's very personal, right? So when you look into a career coach, this is going to be more personalized, more like, let me help you versus letting me help you in general and trying to get you out there so we can get the next year. Although the thing about that is you also have to pay. But if you think about it, it's a personalized service. You get exactly what you need versus something that's free and something more general.
And so when it comes to the Career Center, let's do that for a quick moment. How have, let's say I have to pay for my alumni Career Center too, unfortunately, so I never go back. But say our Career Center experience is free. What is the role of the Career Center in managing a career for, say, an alum these days? And how does that, what do they make sure that that's a positive experience?
Yeah. So what you're asking is basically like, what's the role of a Career Center within the university?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sorry, you were kind of broken. So.
Oh, yeah.
The role of a Career Center is really to help students with professional development. I mean, like I said, there's, let's say, about 8 career counselors to 40,000 students who could potentially be using the Career Center. And I'm going to say that, but obviously there's going to be a lot lower numbers depending on how many people actually use it. But I would say the role of a Career Center is really to educate the students on professional development, so that when you are looking for an internship, that first full-time job, you're well equipped with it so that you're on your way to finding that full-time job. So basically what they're preparing you for is like how to approach in a career fair, what employers to talk to. So this is where they have the career fairs and really bring employers in. And then they'll also have like special documents on how to like prepare a resume, they'll have mock interview services. So in that sense, it's really preparing you for the job search process, not essentially doing it for you, but really helping prepare you and to coach you. So, like I said, that you're on your way. So that's the ideal goal. But if you think about it, when there's so many students to hit, it's kind of like what you can touch, and it's really up to you to be proactive as well. Like they're not going to just go out to you and reach out and be like, hey, let me offer you career services. You know, it's really up to you to find out that there is a career services. And of course they tell you during orientation, but you have to go and visit and take advantage of it yourself. Like, for example, when I was looking for a job, I took advantage of career fairs, mock interviews, resumes with my career counselor, and I also went in multiple times throughout the semester. So if you take advantage of that versus someone who doesn't, you're definitely going to be on the right track and ahead of someone else.
Okay. And so how have college career centers changed with new technology? Because obviously none of them have like Albert's List per se from a community perspective, nor do they, sometimes they also seem like they might be insulated from how the applicant tracking system has really changed how people apply for work, amongst so many other things. Where does the Career Center, I guess, sit now with all of these different services and shiny things that are out on the market?
So usually Career Centers have one platform that they use that's usually you've probably heard of like Simplicity or MakeLink. That's what we primarily use, I would say, in California. So this is where they house all your career services needs. So this is where you make a career counseling appointment. This is where you look for jobs. So employers actually do, similarly to Albert's List, do post jobs on this career services platform where they are actively recruiting, and you can send your resume in through that platform, and that's where they take a look at it and decide whether or not they want to pursue for interviews. This is also what the next step, if they do decide to pursue you for an interview, you can register to sign up for an interview on that same platform as well. Other services could be things such as mock interview. So I've done virtual mock interviews where we'll have like a mock person ask me questions through a computer screen, and then I'll answer, and then it records, and then it'll send to a career counselor for them to review and give me feedback on my interview. And then there's also like resume services where you can build your resume online. So I'll prompt you like, put your name here, put your experience here, put the dates here. So they'll like end up making the resume for you. So that takes a lot of guesswork out of like, okay, where do I need to go? Like, who do I ask for, these specifics? So you do a lot of the preliminary stuff on this platform. And I'm really speaking on like me as a student and me as a recruiter right now. So that's kind of like the platforms that we use, but most schools should have something like that. And if they don't, then they'll usually designate one person to do it, which a lot of work. So hopefully they have them.
I bet, yeah. I bet. So, what are some questions that I would say maybe that alumni can ask their career centers for their career once they've graduated that maybe the average student couldn't ask, or alumni couldn't ask, say, a career coach?
So, well, I guess this would really depend on what they're looking for, but I guess my biggest suggestion would just be as specific as possible, or like let them know how far along you are on the job search, and what specifically you need help on and what you're stuck on. So for example, if you're like, oh, I'm looking for a job and I've been getting through first round interviews, but I never get offered the second, then they're, you provide as much information as possible. The career coach might be asking you, okay, so when you're in the first round interviews, like, what are you like? So like walk me through your first round interviews. And then at that point, they'll try to pinpoint, okay, this might be what was wrong. This might be why you're not getting the second round. This might be what you're doing well, but then you have a fault here, and then really coach you on how to fix it for next time. So you kind of just have to be as specific as possible. I would say the career coach is doing more of the question asking, because that's why it's kind of like digging for information, where they're like, okay, this is how I can help you exactly. Versus your question might just be like, I don't know what went wrong. Why am I not getting second round?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we're moving through this particular webinar quicker than we usually do, because these are very simple topics that don't require too much depth. Let's move into mentorship, and let's talk about mentorship a little bit. What is in your thought process the importance of mentors, and what the heck is a mentor?
Sure. So a mentor is really someone who guides you. There's like so many different aspects of your life. It could be like family, friends, work, relationships, like romantic relationships, whatever it is. There's just so many components of your life. You may be confident in some of it, you may be not in some, and I know Albert and I always have conversations about this, but for example, like I've always been really confident about my work life, but in romantic relationships, that's like a little bit hairy. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know how to date or whatever. So it's really having that mentor, that person who can like coach you through your process. And not only that, a mentor's supposed to be really encouraging as well. So this is someone who's kind of like your cheerleader, and someone who will push you to succeed when you're like, oh, I don't know how to do it, or when you're like, oh, I can't do it. So it's really interesting because before I met Albert, and I'll use you as an example, I was like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this with Find Your Peanut Butter, and with my website and book and all that stuff. And now we talk, almost every week, or every couple of weeks, and Albert's there, kind of like a mentor, like pushing me, like, hey, is this done yet? Or like, what's wrong? What can I help you with? Like, what can we do to move this process along? And sometimes it's just me procrastinating. It's like, okay, seriously, you need to get it going. And help me set the deadlines, and really kind of encourage me, like, hey, this is going to be great. You can promote this on, Albert's list and all that stuff. So that's kind of like the push I needed. And it's really to have someone there to like, not keep track of you, but to keep you like acclimated and to, really help you. So I would say a mentor is really, really, really important. And you can have multiple mentors. You can have one for everything. That would be ideal. Or you can have multiple ones. So you can have one for like work. You can have one for like, let's say your love life. One for, general relationships. So, long-winded question, but wanted to provide you.
So for those of us who I guess aren't so lucky, because I know I met you at a social gathering, I think about a year ago now. Where does one go to find a mentor that can serve them in their career?
Literally,
I ask
yeah,
mentorships or
so
your job, it seems to be a very difficult task to find one.
yeah, definitely. And I would say honestly, like take your time on this. Not everyone can be your mentor, and it didn't take until my senior year of college until I found my mentor. And it's kind of like developing a relationship, in the sense that you really have to, have buy-in from both people and a mutual understanding that, you're going to help each other out. I think also another thing to keep in mind is a mentorship's not just one-sided. Like it's networking in a sense that you should be providing something as well, which could even just mean like checking up on them once in a while or helping them out with a project or whatever you see fit. But really where you find a mentor could literally be anything. So like Albert was saying, like I literally bumped into him. We bumped into each other at a random networking event that we were both in. It was more of like a party kind of where like drinks and food were both playing. I've had I think 3 drinks still on me that night. So we met and we just connected because we had a lot of similarities in terms of like what we're trying to accomplish. So we set aside time to meet. I think at that time it was like every week when I lived in the OC, to meet every week. And I swear we talked like every day and we were just kind of like checking up on each other. So that's kind of where that like really informal but formal relationship forms. So it's really up to either one of us to be like, hey, how's it going? Do you need help here and there, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, so that's one way. Another way that I found my mentor was at work. So this was during college, was when I was doing my internship with her, and she was also happened to be my career counselor, but we developed more of a relationship where I wasn't just working for her, but she was also really mentoring me and coaching me on how to find my job as well, since that was the area that I needed help in. So she was definitely my go-to person whenever I needed help with my career, like, okay, what am I doing wrong with my interview? Where can I find my next job? And she was the one that actually coached me and suggested that, hey, maybe you should go into grad school, which was something that I definitely did not consider. And then now, like a few years later, I have my master's. So someone to really give you that push. But it could, most of the time it's during work or like at a networking event. But like I said, just keep in mind that these things are, you have to be really patient with them. You can ask someone to be your mentor, or it can form more informally. But you just have to really build that relationship. It's really like finding, a best friend or your significant.
Awesome. So in finding a mentor, once you found this mentor, how do you make sure that the relationship is an effective and a good one?
Sure. So that one, like I said, is really just keep checking in with each other once in a while, even if it's just like once every 2 months. It could, for me and my mentor back in college, I really don't talk to her as much anymore. But then when, like, let's say I have a job change, I'll just message her really fast, like, hey, blah, 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 how's it going? I hope things are well. I just want to let you know that I'm on to my new next adventure, changed careers, and now I am a campus recruiter for a public CPA firm. How's it going with your mentorship program? Because last time we talked about the mentorship program. So it's kind of keep in contact that way, and you kind of end up with like, let me know if there's anything you can help with, or like, hope to catch you next time. Or usually I'm like, I'm coming to San Diego within the next couple months. Let's set up some time to meet. And when we set up some time, it's really about, what you want to share. But I'm like, I changed career path again, and this is where I'm at now. And then now I like, for her, I feel comfortable talking about my relationships. So she's like, hey, what happened to that one boyfriend? You know, kind of like catching up, and then I'll ask her about her stuff. So, yeah, I know, right? So I'll ask her about her stuff, like, you know, how's the mentorship program going? And she's like, you know, it grew from like 0 to over 3,000 people in a couple years, and you know, ask her really about the logistics of it and if there's anything I can help with. So kind of like building that relationship, really checking up to see how they're doing, really getting to see them face to face if you have the chance, sending updates or, you know, like everyone keeps saying, sending articles that they might be interested in, or if you see something like, oh, congratulations on this, I just noticed it, but I wanted to say hi and congratulations. You know, just something also that you're on their radar. And kind of like, my trick is to kind of like mention something from before, even if it's a long time ago. So like, oh, to follow up, you know, I finally did this, like people, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so when it comes to, I would say, yeah, I mean, having that effective mentor relationship, it sounds like it's a lot of, I guess, being able to be social, following up, and remember what it is that you may have picked up from having spoken to them last, right? And so, where does, I guess, mentorship even fit in with things like employee retention and employee engagement? And how do people who are watching this particular webinar become that engaged employee that doesn't necessarily need to be, I think, your typical millennial that job hops every year?
I mean, that's the interesting thing is, like, lately I've been hearing a lot of people quitting their jobs because, like, they have a bad manager or whatever it is. And honestly, like, ideally, your manager, your supervisor should be your mentor because they're the one teaching. So that's in a very ideal situation. So that's where retention really comes in, is where, like, essentially if your staff is happy, you're happy, right? If like I'm a manager and my staff is happy because I've coached them the right way, I gave them the resources they need to do their job well, that makes me happy because that means they want to stay and they want to work with. So in that case, it means like treating people with respect. However, sometimes you also have to manage up. So with, let's say, a new manager or someone who, you know, is really good at their job but not necessarily good at managing people, you all have to speak up as well. So it's like I keep saying, it's a two-way relationship. So, I mean, I have an example where, you know, my manager doesn't know some of the things that I have to deal with down in LA when she's in the Bay Area. So when I notice some things that she doesn't know, sometimes I need to definitely let her know in order for me to do my job right. So I need to let her know to coach me so that I can coach other people. So it's that whole line where sometimes you do have to tell your manager because sometimes they just don't know, honestly. Like, you can be a mentor, you can be a good mentor, but you can also be a bad mentor when you don't know, but then your staff also doesn't speak up. So in that sense, that's where retention really comes in, and that's where you have to really work as a team and have that, like, very open communication. I'm always joking with my manager. I'm like, yeah, did I, you know, get my 5 questions a day? Like, did I hit my quota today? 5 questions? You know, because I'm always asking questions, even though I'm, you know, 6 months into my job. There's always so many things that I need clarification on or that I need to know of. So that's also to keep them in the know, but also allows me to, you know, perform well. And when I perform well, you know, that helps with retention because I'm happy in my job and I know what I'm doing and I'm successful.
And so I guess mentorship is one area where companies can continue to retain their employees. What are some other ways where And for those who have just joined, we're not only talking about career counseling, we've talked a little bit about career coaching, the role of the Career Center, and now we've moved into employee advocacy and employee engagement. Is what other ways can companies engage their employees, and how can employees who feel disengaged find more ways to be engaged so that they aren't so dissatisfied with their jobs? Because there are a lot of people out there, and I've heard the number quoted as high as 70%, that 70% of people, if given a chance to switch their jobs, would absolutely do so.
Yeah. So I think a couple things is really assessing, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and giving them projects that, first of all, the person's interested in. Second is their strength, but also help them work on their weaknesses. So it's kind of threefold in that sense. Mm-hmm. So it's really about like learning what your staff or whoever needs and kind of accommodating to that side. Honestly, as like a manager, supervisor, mentor, you cannot just do things one way, your way. You have to really accommodate. And vice versa. So it takes a little bit of negotiation and a little bit of compromise, but you can't just like force things on your staff, because when you force things and they're not happy with it, they're not going to want to do it. And that just makes them unhappy. Second or third or fourth, sorry, I lost track. The other thing is just more on the lines of like having open communication. So I think this is important with like everything, like work, your personal life, all of that. So open communication, just like letting people know when you have a question and not just, struggling and, thinking that someone else is going to pick it up because they're not going to, or being oblivious, or, not being able to compromise. So those are, definitely key points to working with other people. Also, I would think a big component is also like building relationships. So that's bonding either through like, going to lunch together, or like having monthly staff events, or, something fun, so that you're not just talking about work all the time. So, just have that time where you're like getting to know each other on another level, whereas it's not just work. Like, so it's not just about work. So you can incorporate a little bit more fun into it, so that that everyone's human too. You're not going to have someone straight up working 8 hours and be like completely okay with it. There has to be some downtime as well to get to know each other, and you have to provide the opportunity for that. And then I would also say the last thing is like, when you have meetings, make sure they're short and to the point. I know that there's some meetings where it's like dragging on and on and on, and you're just like, oh my gosh, that could have been in 5 minutes. And it's just like wasting everyone's time, and they're like twiddling their hair and they're like bored, and you can see them just like rolling their eyes. Like, you definitely don't want that, because then they're not engaged. And in addition, in the meeting, not only are you
that
like
just goes on forever now. Death by meeting, yeah.
Like, if not only are you providing information, but you also want feedback as well. So being that really like inclusive person, where it's like, so what do you guys think? But of course, having parameters around it. So it's like, so what do you think? Like, do you agree? What can we modify? Because in the end of the day, it's also a team effort. It's not just you yourself, because you can't mentor other people if they don't agree. So
that's true.
that's like
so. And so what about what a lot of companies are doing today? Like, I know that in a lot of different startups in Silicon Valley especially, it's the ping pong table, it's the yoga, it's the free breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. Is that a proper way to actually engage employees? Or, I mean, in my thoughts, probably not, but a lot of companies do it anyway.
Well, it's funny because, like, first of all, they do that to keep competitiveness, of all the different companies. Like, would you rather work for a company who has a ping pong table, or someone who, works 8 hours a day? But I think, like, especially during breaks, I think it's a great icebreaker. So, normally, like when I'm at a summer picnic or something and I don't know anyone or I'm at the beach, I will draw myself to beach volleyball courts because first of all, it's going to be you and let's say 5 other people. That's already 5 new people that you're talking to. So I think that's a great way to keep people engaged. If you have a food bar, you know, you can be like, hey, how's the chicken today? You know, that's something I would totally do. So it's like being more engaged and having more, you know, people know each other versus like just sitting at your own cubicle. So I actually think that's a really good idea. In addition, so as you know, the law in California essentially states that for every 4 hours, you have to take at least a half an hour lunch break. You have to take, you know, 10, 15-minute breaks in between as well. So with that, people ideally should be like getting away from their desks. So if there's a ping pong table, if there's like, you know, a nap room, or, you know, whatever it is, you should be taking advantage of it. So I think it also helps with like taking your mind off things so that you're more refreshed when you come back. Because honestly, how productive are you going to be when you're working like a straight 8 hours or like a straight?
It's very true. That's very true. And so, yeah, I mean, I think if you're able to engage your employees in, you know, a variety of different ways, and I guess my screen's getting very white here because it's getting dark and I've got a notepad document open what we're talking about. So I guess it's very bright here. So yeah, I would say that, what other final thoughts do you have around career counseling, the career center, career coaches, and employee engagement as we wrap up here?
Yeah. I mean, my last thing is just like, make sure you take advantage of everything. Like when you graduate from college, your career center is not going to be free anymore. You're going to have to pay for a career coach, which is not a bad thing because, like I mentioned, it's more personalized. But, you know, take advantage of everything. If they're offering you services to help you with your interviews, your resumes, just know that you don't have to do it alone. And that just cuts off like 90% of the work that you have to do and like research yourself online and stuff. So get that help, especially because they're a professional. With a career coach, like, you know, really let them know what you need help with so that they can best assess your needs and really coach you on how to find your job or whatever you need to do, because, you know, that's essentially what they're there for, to pinpoint your need. And in terms of a mentor, find one. And I know that sounds easy, but if you can find one, hang on to them, take advantage of them in the sense that, you know, milk their knowledge and pick their brains and really try to like utilize them in the way that's best for both of you guys. Because not only do you need a mentor, but like mentors like to coach you. That's why they're mentors. They want to help you. And in return, your success and you being proactive, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I like, you know, help my baby grow up or something. You know. I did that last night. So I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, they're grown up. I helped them get their internship, and now they're like graduating and getting their full-time job. And you know, it's nice when I help them in that process, and they're like, you know, thank you so much. I couldn't have done this without you. And like, I don't need anything in return. I just need to know, like, okay, they took my advice. They grew up, and now they're, you know, going on with their lives, and they're probably still going to contact me later on.
So Eric has a question.
Sure.
What's the rule to maintain a relationship with the mentor? How often do you seek them out? How often do you meet with them? So I'll let you answer that one.
That's just up to your discretion. I was saying in the beginning, if this is like a new relationship, it could be a little bit more often. So I would just say maybe like, it's really depends. So like bi-weekly, once a month, depending on if you can like meet up, or if you're just like shooting them a quick email. You don't want to ask too often or like bombard with like too many emails. I think it's just like, you know, assess the relationship. Are they like super busy to where, you know, you might not necessarily want to read or email them all the time? or are they really open to meeting up like once a month? And it's really just like being quick and filling them in. And once you establish that relationship, it could be a little bit longer. Like I said, I don't talk to my mentor sometimes for like 3 to 6 months. But once you have that relationship, it's going to be like you pick up where you left off. You know how in high school or something where, you go to high school and then you graduated and you go to college and then, you don't talk for like a year until like maybe the summer. But then since you've built that relationship, you're like, hey, Albert, you want to hang out again? And you kind of just like pick up where you left off. So it's kind of like that. So imagine a relationship as like finding a friend or like a new relationship. Even when you're, finding a significant other, you're like, okay, I probably want to contact this person, every week just to make sure that, I'm on their radar. And then once you're in that relationship and it's long term, then you're like, okay, well, maybe we can talk to each other, not every day, but then just every week, whatever it is that you know that you're
Okay. Okay. Cool. So I think my final takeaways from all of this and in our conversation today is that career counseling, you get the most out of it by being able to ask the right questions, take advantage of what's free, maybe what's not so free anymore. With retention and engagement, it's important to find ways that keep you interested and that maintain your interest and challenge in staying at that job. Because I know every time I talk to a recruiter, if I ever do, it's all about what is still interesting, what is challenging, and things like that. And then with mentors, it seems like you can meet a mentor anywhere, obviously, and you seek out that mentor on a regular basis or on a not so regular basis, depending on how you feel about it. And so, yeah, I would say that with those thoughts in mind, because personally, I'm always seeking mentorship, especially in my career, since I'm kind of on my own with it. It's good to know that I guess you can find a mentor anywhere. Just gotta go out and look.
And I think
and so,
just one last note. Just make sure. Just know that, like I keep saying, be patient, but just know that like not everyone's going to work out for you. Like you might have someone for a little bit, but they may not work out because they're too busy, or they're just not interested in mentoring, or you guys just might not be a good fit. So just keep that in mind as well. And going back to like the relationship reference, like let's say you're on like OkCupid or Coffee Meets Bagel, and you're dating lots of people. As you know, not everyone's going to be a right fit for you. It might be that one you click with, but then there's going to be all these other people that you may not necessarily click with, and that's totally okay. Just be patient in finding the right fit.
Yeah. So as we do with everyone, I know you've been on this webinar multiple times before, but nonetheless, for everyone watching, please promote yourself. Tell us what it is that you do exactly, and we'll also talk about for a quick moment how you are working with Albert's List too. Talk about Find Your Peanut Butter.
Oh, what? You want me to talk about Find Your Peanut Butter?
Yeah, you're promoting yourself here at the very end.
Oh, sorry for talking to everyone else.
No, I'm just talking to you. I'm
like the only one here. Okay, anyways, so Find Your Peanut Butter. So I'm sure you heard me do a lot of references to relationships. So I am, with Find Your Peanut Butter, I am a career coach. And I also run a website, www.findyourpeanutbutter.com. And on that website, there's a blog that really compares the similarities between finding a career and finding a soul. So that originally started because I've, had some good successes with finding a job in my career. So lucky for me. But for relationships, I'm kind of like really lost. So I started noticing a lot of similarities. So people are usually better at finding relationships and dating. And then the career part and finding the job kind of like a different topic. So that's where I really talk about the similarities and how you have transferable skills to do them both. If you have skills to date, you also have skills to find your career. So go ahead and check that out. I'm also running a career coaching business, so I really help with resumes and mock interviews. So let me know if you need help with that. I'm also I'm writing a book. I'm finishing my book. And this is what Albert's actually really pushing me on. Like, hey, when's it going to be done? Are you going to have a launch party? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting it done. And then work, of course, gets in the way. So I am still working on my book. It is almost done. So I'm hoping it will come out summer. And just leave that tentative summer.
I love it.
So please pick up a copy. Let me know if you have any questions. And then I do want, and we keep going. Albert and I were doing more and more, and it's really exciting for us. And Albert, you can tag team on this, but Albert and I have teamed up to do some career coaching videos for you all. So this will be a package of 7 videos from the introductory, how to approach your resume, interviews, networking, your job search, all the way down to what you do when you finally get an offer and how to assess it. So we're really excited to start filming in June, actually, and having these videos out for you guys. So keep a watch out for that, and feel free to hit us up if you have any questions or any suggestions, but we're really excited to get started on that.
Yeah, so I echo that. We're working together on a video series here, and that should be pretty exciting to go on. And so from my side, yeah, it's pretty exciting and cool. And so for my promo here, Albert's list is accessible at bit.ly/findyournextjob or at albertslist.org. We have new members that join daily. We're actually getting close to 16,000 people now, and so every day help people with their their job hunt, and we make it possible for them. And we also do these webinars on the side because not only do we love hearing ourselves talk, but we also love helping other people and giving them more insight into their daily career. And so until next time, this is Albert, and with Stella, Find Your Peanut Butter, signing off. And let us know in the comment section below once we finish here if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. All right, so have a great evening.
Bye.